This is a Hot Pie Original.
I'm going to say that it's not a good fit for Texas, and it's going to be blown up, and people are going to overreact. And it would take me a while to explain why I think it's not necessarily the best fit for Texas. It's the most money right now, and it's going to be the best football, and that's great for the fan. But if you were to ask me, it's the most money, is it the best fit? No. A few reasons. One of which is it's going to be completely misunderstood, and I don't know how to explain this in a way that is not hijacked. Texas going into the SEC is not going into a conference of like-minded schools or like-minded cities, nor like-minded cultures. What, Jeff? What? Listen, I've always thought that the Texas, and I say this as a person who went to school there and would love to go to games. I think Texas is a better fit on the West Coast, going into those bigger markets, those like-minded schools, UCLA, Cal, those places. Those are more like-minded schools and cultures. But the best football is going to be played in the South because the best high school football is played in the South because football has become a poor kid's Southern game or Southern poor kids game. Austin, Texas is, why do I say it's not a good fit? It's not a fit at all academically. And they're going to make the most money they can, and that's what they're chasing. And I think it's going to be better football. I'm not arguing that either. I'm just saying that I think it's going to be more difficult than people realize. I think it's going to be more difficult even from a football perspective because I know things have changed, and I know I'm disconnected from the football and high school recruiting world. But one of the things that has always been used against Texas in recruiting a 17-year-old. Remember, you're not recruiting kids out of, national merit scholars out of Los Angeles. You're recruiting kids from poor, rural South. Austin is not like many of the other towns, college towns that they're recruiting against. It'll actually be used against Texas. For a lot of us, we'd say, man, what a great place to live. But many of you are also not some poor kid from the South living in some country town. That's who Alabama is selling to. That's who LSU is selling to. They can make that kid feel more insulated than you can in Austin. I heard it years ago in recruiting guys. Oh yeah, you go to Austin, it's not a friendly town for a poor black kid. That's what people would say. And it's going to be used increasingly against Texas. Please don't take that and blow it up into something it's not. I'm just telling you that I don't think it's quite as easy. Oh, you go make a bunch of money. Oh, you go and play in the best football league. Oh, it's going to take care of itself. I don't fault Texas for doing the deal. And I don't know if another option was even there because I think they're chasing the most money they can. And that's the business they're in. I'm just saying, if you want to find a twist to this that I think is not quite understood by most people, I think you're going to find a twist to this is that the football is not going to be as easy as people think. The recruiting is not going to be as easy as people think. You and I might think, wow, who wouldn't want to live in Austin? You're some poor kid from the panhandle of Florida. This is not a place that you know. It's not a campus is not like what you're used to. You go hide some guy at some southern school like Mississippi State or LSU or Alabama, you can insulate that kid, that 17-year-old kid from a poor rural background. They're going to feel more comfortable at those schools. That's why I'm saying I think it's more difficult than people realize. The arguments used against the University of Texas years ago in recruiting players was, oh yeah, you want to go there with a bunch of rich kids from big cities, and a world where all your time is spent at frat parties and going on the lakes on a boat, that means nothing to some kid from the poor South. Nothing. You can't be insulated here. It's a giant campus. It's a competitive world. It's a high-tech world. It is a completely foreign environment to some poor kid. Just telling you. I'm sure I'll say that today and people will just jump on me and say, you jackass jerk. Oh, it's going to be better football. They're going to play in the best football league because it's the league surrounded by the best high school football, which is poor kids in the South. Yeah. Just think you chase the money, you chase the competition. I think you're chasing something that's going to come up more than people realize on the recruiting trail. Sounds weird, doesn't it? Is it enough to kill the deal? I don't know that I would say that. I'm just saying that I don't think when you add it all up, I don't think it's quite of a sweetheart, you're automatically going to win in football deal that you think. I think coaches recruiting are going to find it slightly more difficult than the public realize. John McClellan is the co-founder and creator of ATX Hot Sauce in all 50 states, now in several retail outlets as well. So we're going to turn it over to the social media rock chef superstar, and we're going to walk through a few sauces and why you should buy. We've done beet heat, so we're second in line now for the tasting. Don't forget, everyone, go to atxhotsauce.com. So here we go.
All right, so this one is our smoked habanero 5-pepper. We smoke habaneros with ancho, pasilla.
Is that going to hurt?
This one? No,
Yeah.
This one's actually really, really good.
Okay.
This is like your traditional tapatilla, but without the vinegar in it, right? And because of that fermentation process that we've talked about all the time. This one is great on sandwiches, pizzas, things like that. Great on hot wings. I think you're going to really like this one too, especially the smoky flavor with the adobe chipotle and the smoked habaneros. We actually smoked the habaneros before we.
Does that go with the cab?
This would not go with the cab. This would go with the great Chenin Blanc, though.
I teed you up with that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That is good.
That's good. Isn't that good? It's just classic take. Well, it's a new take on a classic item. So it's called smoked habanero 5-pepper.
All right, don't forget
One of my
ATX.
favorites.
Don't forget atxhotsauce.com. I hate the Olympic coverage. But if I was producing it, I'd do it the exact same way. Well, maybe not about what I'm about to talk about. I probably wouldn't go here, but it just, I have to turn the sound down. I mean, I want to watch sports. I want to watch stuff that I typically wouldn't watch, track. I want to watch, the real stuff. You measure somebody running and jumping and swimming and stuff like that. The swimming is fascinating. So you get, I don't know what, somebody somewhere could do a breakdown of how much actual sport you get versus vignettes, sit-down interviews where you cry. The goal is to be, what are those bachelorette shows or whatever it is? The more times you can play that dramatic music underneath someone and they cry, the better. So I guess you probably have about 2 minutes of actual sports, somebody swimming or jumping or running. I don't even think they show that stuff, versus the vignettes. So I don't like it. But I'm not the audience, right? I don't matter. I'm into that stuff. The audience is about drama. The audience is about storytelling and crying. When you can cry and there's glitter involved, it's always a good day. That said, we shouldn't laugh, but I can't help but laugh. This is so around the world, of course. There's coverage of the games, and everybody has their own broadcast, and you got to put some art up there. Art meaning logos, flags, stuff like that, right? When the broadcast is going on. So here comes South Korean television network, MTS. I don't know what MTS stands for, but I guess they're CBS, they're NBC, whatever. NBC owns the rights. NBC spent a lot of money years ago to lock down the rights to the Olympic Games, and that's why you get the vignettes. I mean, just so you know, the rights, the business model of all content, but sporting content is the same. I write you a big check to the IOC. I'm sure there's probably some side deals, maybe some hookers involved. It's not exactly the most above board operation. So I write you a check, then I own the content to then turn around and do with it whatever I want. And the idea, of course, is to, one, sell advertising time, and number two, cross-promote to my other shows. So if I have other soccer mom shows, the Olympics is perfect for me because it's all girls and glitter and crying and stuff, right? So they've secured the rights. I know for well over a decade they own the rights. So I'm going to assume whatever South Korean network there is, they've done the same thing. In photos, it's photos for South Korea. Okay, so they're talking about each country and showing the medal count, right? The medal count. showed famous buildings and statues and the K-pop group BTS. Okay. A piece of salmon was shown for Norway. I don't know what the hell Norway won, but Norway is talked about on the broadcast, so they show some salmon. Okay. Then for Italy, don't know what the Italians won, but something. We don't know what other sports are going on because all we get is interviews with girls and their moms for gymnastics. So we have no idea what sports are actually taking place. I did see one clip, though. The start of the Olympic triathlon. Somebody parked a boat in the way and they couldn't get in the water. They have this big, look like a cigarette boat. And so this is an open water swim. So the coverage, I guess they're following the swimmers along in this boat, and it got in their way. The name. So for Italy, it looked like pepperonis and Canadian bacon or something like that, and olive. So it's pizza stuff. Okay. We had a clip of the boat trying to run over some triathletes right now. Hey, get out of my way, man. I got a 1.5 mile swim ahead of me. So then they go and show Haiti. The image of Haiti showed demonstrators in front of a burning street following the recent assassination of the country's president. Okay, so you got talking head is sitting here, and then these images are popping up as the countries are mentioned. So for Haiti, whatever happened with the Haitian athlete, I don't know. We don't get to see because we just have, gymnastics all the time. So the image was the riots in the street following the assassination. Very nice, right? Gets better. Romania, blah, blah, blah. Romanian athlete finishes silver in the 400-meter freestyle. Picture of Count Dracula pops up on the screen. Oh, it gets better. So we got it. So they're just going through the broadcast, and stuff pops up behind my head. Okay, so you got Romania, Count Dracula. Mongolia shows the Mongolian delegation entering the opening ceremonies. So what visual do you put up there? Come on, what? Yes, Genghis Khan, of course. Hey, what the hell? Well, it gets better. Mongolia. I don't know, maybe some Mongolian athlete won something. Who, again, we don't know. All we know is American gymnasts. That's all we have. We don't even know if there's other countries involved in Olympic Games because we just see American girls and glitter and moms. Okay? So, Mongolia, silver medal, blah, blah, blah. Genghis Khan. What says Olympics more than, some Genghis Khan photos? Then we get to the Ukraine. I assume there's good basketball players. I assume the Ukrainians did something well at the Olympics. So blah, blah, blah. Ukraine athlete wins a silver. Ukraine athlete, blah, blah, blah. What do they show? Chernobyl. Yes. Here's talking head right above me. Absolute death and destruction. Others countries' images were not so savory. Ukraine was represented. Here's the report about the broadcast and their criticism. Ukraine was represented by Chernobyl, the 1986 nuclear disaster. That is quite a trifecta there. Genghis Khan, Count Dracula, and Chernobyl. Needless to say, they've apologized for the images used. I know it's terrible. I know. But it's so terrible, it's hilarious. If I could find this broadcast anywhere, I would love to see it. But you know how that looks? You know how that plays out? Whatever, some producer says, we're going to talk. We don't have a picture of the Mongolian athlete winning the shot put, so let's just put Genghis Khan up there. Well, I don't know. Do we have a picture of the Ukrainian athlete winning the silver in the steeplechase? We don't? Okay. What are we going to use, producer? Chernobyl. Good. Put some death up there. Thank you. Oh, the Romanians. It's quite, tell you that, Romanian javelin thrower has won the silver. Do we have any photos of it? No, we don't? Okay. We'll just put Dracula up there, okay? That'll be fine.
From the Hot Pie Media Studios in Austin, Texas, it's The Jeff Ward Show. Listen at jeffwardshow.com.